Welcome back to BLOCKTV. It's time now for stress test. And in the crypto sphere, the two biggest drivers still seem to be fear and greed. With emotions running the show, there is a serious need for the industry to develop more accurate metrics. Unfortunately, here at BLOCKTV, we have a man who can help us to understand things from a new perspective. The TIE co-founder Joshua Frank, whose proprietary sentiment data breaks down how millions of people who make up the crypto sphere feel about where the markets are headed. Josh, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so to kick things off this week, we've got a special examination of what we can only call hype. Hype when it comes to the Twitter sphere and sentiment. First, tell me a little bit about hype, and then we'll get into some of the most and least hype coins that are out there.
Yeah, so I mean, throughout crypto, the market really is still the Wild West. We've covered in the past exchanges inflating trading volumes, particular coins having their trading volumes inflated. And another way that manipulation manifests itself is on Twitter and on social media platforms, which are kind of the epicenter of conversations around cryptocurrencies and places where investors find new ideas and new assets to invest in. So one of the biggest things that goes on within the market and that people don't really talk about are these bot accounts, which are created to manipulate and hype and pump and promote particular cryptocurrencies. So we decided to take an examination to look in depth at these cryptocurrencies. What we looked at was how many tweets do they have per $1 million in trading volume? And what we found was that broadly across every single cryptocurrency, the average was 1.02 tweets per $1 million in trading volume. But when we looked at particular crypto assets, for example, Token Pay, Electroneum, Dragon Chain, some of these larger, some of these more manipulated coins, what we saw for Token Pay, for example, was that there were 911 tweets per $1 million in trading volume. So compare that to the average, that means that Token Pay has 911 more tweets than what would have been expected, had it been tweeted at, an average rate. So when we looked at some of the least inflated coins, we saw Tether, which makes sense, right? It's a stable coin. Why would people really be talking about it other than in the context of, unfortunately, manipulation as well? But what we saw was that, some of these other coins had much less conversations around them. But the extent of this manipulation is really shown well by this graphic, which is the fact that Token Pay has 33 million% higher tweet to trading volume ratio than Tether. So it's pretty absurd. And later we can walk through, how this is happening as well.
Okay, so I mean, I guess I got to raise the important question here, Josh. Obviously, the coins that stand there at the top 5 most hyped coins out there in terms of hype to value, they're not exactly what we'd call the creme de la creme of coins. In fact, some would even throw out the term shitcoin when it comes in relation to these coins. Do you see any correlation between the use of some of these coins in that sense and this overhyping? Do you think there's something going on in the background there? Can we dig a little deeper?
Yeah, so we also created another metric, which I don't have any graphics for, called an NV tweet ratio. So the NVT ratio looks at network value, which is market cap divided by transaction value, which is like 30-day average volume. So we did the same thing, looking at network value divided by 30-day average trading volume. And we saw, a similar type thing where a lot of these coins that ranked high for hype divided by trading volume, similarly scored, in a similar vein on market cap divided by hype volume. So we're seeing the same coins, as it relates to, Token Pay, Electroneum, but we're seeing some coins that people, tend to at least associate with some more legitimacy scoring high there as well. So if you look at BitTorrent, for example, it has about 10 times as much hype, as it relates to market cap than Tron does, which I guess makes sense because Justin Sun likes to pump both of them at the same time. But the market cap of BitTorrent is about 1/10 of that of Tron.
Okay, so there are some potential explainers for what's going on here with certain coins there. But let's move beyond some of, again, what some could call shit coins. Not to say that we are doing that here, but to what certainly are the creme de la creme of coins, the top coins in the market. What sort of hype are we seeing with those guys for comparison?
Yeah, So it's they're for the most part they're pretty consistent with the average, right? The average is 1.02 for Bitcoin. It's 1.72, so it's slightly higher, and that really makes sense because Bitcoin, much more so than other coins, is talked about by the general public. A lot of people refer to crypto generally as Bitcoin, especially people that aren't really active in the market. So we've seen it's pretty consistent with the one exception among the largest coins being XRP, which seems to be pretty significantly more overhyped. So if we include in that graphic, we didn't include the hashtag XRP the standard, XRP Army, and XRP community, which actually aren't included in our sentiment metrics. So if you tweet about them, we don't score that tweet. But the XRP's hype to activity ratio is 6.66. So it's about 6 times higher than cryptocurrencies more broadly. So among the largest coins, we're seeing that kind of hype exists mostly for XRP.
I mean, that's an interesting one because I think anyone who spent any decent amount of time on crypto Twitter is well aware that the XRP army, as they would call themselves, they're a very vocal and active group. Even given the sort of the status of the coin today, where it stands in terms of its price growth throughout 2019 and relative sort of market cap. Do you think that is just that it's gotten enough attention, it's gotten enough loyalty built into it that people are still excited for it? I mean, what distinguishes that from the other players in the group?
I think in a lot of cases you have bot accounts that are actually tweeting about the cryptocurrencies, so they're not actually real people. And there's some pretty easy ways. So I wish that we had done this for XRP just in the context of this discussion, but we decided to look at Electroneum here. Electroneum was one of the coins, I think it was the 4th or 5th highest by hype to activity ratio. And it's pretty easy in a lot of cases to determine whether or not these are real accounts actually discussing a coin. So if you can see on the right side here, we underlined the handle of these Twitter accounts. And a lot of the time with these more manipulated cryptocurrencies on Twitter, what you'll see is that the name will be like Matthew 977254434 or Ted 948134338. We've talked about this a lot of times in the past, where you can actually go on the tie and you can actually click on a Twitter feed for each individual currency, which aggregates tweets on every single tweet on that coin. And what you'll see for these more manipulated coins is that you're consistently seeing just arbitrary strings of characters after the name, and that usually means that there's some computer automated program that's randomly generating the name because they're trying to generate something that's not already assigned to an existing Twitter account. And we also find in a lot of cases that the same overhyped coins tend to be tagged in the same post, which is pretty interesting. So for example, Dragon Chain and Electroneum, we've seen Digibyte and TokenPay talked about a lot. And we'll also see these just absurd numbers of likes on individual posts for a coin. So for example, here we can see that Electroneum has 127.8 thousand Twitter followers versus BitMEX, which has 64,000, which doesn't really make that much sense. I know Electroneum has come out and said that, they have a lot of usage in Africa, but we've done geographic Twitter analysis in Africa, and Africa is less than 5% of total crypto tweets. So you're telling me that 5% of the total, crypto Twitter market accounts for 127,000 likes on Electroneum's page. I just don't buy it. It doesn't make any sense. And what you also see for these individual coins and for, a lot of time that the crypto themselves or these bot accounts tweet about them is you'll see a post and it's got 500 likes, but it's got no engagement, or the engagement all just relates to price movement. It doesn't relate to actual discussion about how do we improve this protocol, what's wrong with it, what's right. And it doesn't just extend to Twitter. We're also seeing this on Facebook. And I'll present this without comment, but Justin Sun has 6 million likes on Facebook, and Coinbase is 187,000. And I didn't see more than 3 comments on any one of Justin Sun's posts on Facebook. So it's not just Twitter, but people are buying followers everywhere. And just no, please.
No, go. Please continue.
No, just really quickly. I just wanted to show a graphic of how ridiculous this is. So if you look at this, is the per $1 million in trading volume, how many tweets are there? I mean, you can see how ridiculous it is for some of these larger coins, and we logged it as well, so you can see the average there. But in some cases, token pay is infinitely higher than Tether and EOS, Ethereum Classic. Even Bitcoin SV, which people like to hate on, doesn't have anywhere near as much manipulation as a lot of these other coins do.
So then, is the key to understanding how to spot these hyped coins just seeing those super inflated numbers? I mean, what's the trick to really for the lay viewer to look and note what coins seem to be overhyped and what to believe when it comes to crypto Twitter?
Yeah, so we are going to add a metric to our site which kind of enables you to do that, which is this hype to activity ratio. But I think really, when you're reading a Twitter post or when you're looking at something, take everything with a grain of salt to start with. But actually click on the likes on a post and see who liked it. Look at the accounts. Are they people that you know as being part of crypto Twitter? Or are they, John 147865, or is it, Electronium fan Belgium 1? Click in, see who's engaging with these posts, see who these people are, and look at the depth of the conversations that they're having around these assets.
Okay, certainly a sage advice. Always make sure you're actually following through with what you want to talk about. But of course, there's one coin there that we haven't yet touched on. That, of course, being the coin that caused so much hype, despite the fact it doesn't yet exist. Libra, massive hype earlier in this year, but is it still able to generate that same level of buzz?
Definitely not. So we're unfortunately missing a bit of data here. We were having some trouble pulling earlier data, but what we saw at the beginning when Libra was released, just within Bitcoin tweets, we had seen on June 18th when Libra was released, or announced rather, 3,500 Bitcoin tweets mentioning Libra, and then on June 19th, 3,750. And what we're seeing now is broadly under 200 tweets on Libra. So tweet volumes on Libra have crashed by at least 95% already. We saw a hype again with the congressional hearings, but they fell back down. So it seems like that, the excitement within the community around Libra. I'm not saying that the hype more broadly, but I think the excitement within the crypto community about Libra has really begun to cool down. I think people are, becoming concerned about whether it's actually going to launch, and people are just kind of ignoring it. And when people are trying to hype things on Twitter right now, they're not hyping them in the context of Libra.
Certainly, maybe it seems people are waiting to see some actual real action on the floor before they're willing to get excited again, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, I want to thank you, Joshua Frank from The Tie, for helping giving us this incredibly useful sentiment data to help break down what coins are being talked, what coins are being used, what's all hype, what's all bluff, and what's real. It's good to have a bit of grounding in all this. Thanks again for joining us this week, Joshua, and of course, stay with us at blocktv.com for all the latest in news, information, and analysis. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.